The human ship came out of the bright tunnel of light near the edge of space where the Galactic Council lived. Captain Daniel Wright stood on the bridge of his vessel, the HSS Horizon, and watched the massive space station grow bigger on the screen in front of him. For 30 years, humans had sent radio signals into space, hoping someone would answer. Finally, the galaxy had replied. Lieutenant Sophie Martinez sat at her station, her hands moving quickly over the glowing controls. She looked up at Daniel with excitement in her eyes. "Sir, they are giving us permission to dock. They want us to go to Bay 12. Daniel nodded and adjusted his uniform. His heart was beating fast. "Good. Tell the diplomatic team to get ready. This is the moment we have been waiting for." The ship moved slowly toward the station. Through the windows, Daniel could see other alien ships of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like giant crystals. Others were perfectly round spheres. One ship seemed to be made of living metal that moved like water. It was beautiful and strange at the same time. Dr. Greg Palmer joined Daniel at the window. He was Earth's chief scientist for alien life, and his eyes were wide with wonder. "I still cannot believe this is real. We are about to meet dozens of alien species. This will change everything for humanity." Commander Lisa Hayes walked onto the bridge. She was in charge of security for the mission. "All teams are ready, sir. We have the gifts prepared, and everyone knows the protocols." The HSS Horizon docked with the station without any problems. When the doors opened, Daniel led his small team into the station. The air smelled different, like metal and something sweet he could not name. The gravity felt lighter than Earth, making each step feel bouncy. A tall alien waited for them in the docking bay. It had smooth blue scales that seemed to shine with their own light. It had 4 arms and large eyes that looked like pools of liquid gold. When it spoke, a small device on its chest translated the sounds into English. "Welcome, humans from Earth. I am Ambassador Vexnar of the Kothari Dominion. Please follow me. The Council is eager to meet you." They walked through long hallways filled with aliens of every type Daniel could imagine. Some floated in the air. Others walked on 6 legs or more. A few seemed to be made of gas held together in clear containers. Every alien they passed stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked curious, others looked nervous. "Why are they staring at us like that?" Sophie whispered to Greg. "Maybe they have never seen humans before," Greg replied. "We must look as strange to them as they look to us." But there was something else in those stares. Something that made Daniel feel uncomfortable. It was not just curiosity. It looked more like fear. The council chamber was enormous. It was shaped like a circle with rows of seats going up and up like a stadium. Aliens sat in every seat. Daniel counted quickly in his head. There must be representatives from at least 40 or 50 different species here. Ambassador Vexnar led the humans to the center of the chamber. Daniel felt like he was standing in the middle of a giant eye, with everyone looking down at them. The lights were bright. The air was warm. His uniform felt too tight. A deep voice boomed through the chamber. "Welcome, representatives of Earth. We have looked at your request to join the Galactic Council. Your species shows promise and intelligence. We have questions before we make our decision." Daniel stepped forward. "We are honored to be here. Humanity is ready to join the galactic community. We come in peace and friendship." There were murmurs from the aliens above. Some sounded approving, others sounded doubtful. Ambassador Vexnar raised one of his 4 hands for silence. "We must know more about your species and your world. Tell us, what do you call yourselves in your own language?" "We are humans," Daniel said clearly. "We come from the planet Earth. It is the 3rd planet from our sun." "And what are the other names for your world?" Vexnar asked. "The ancient names. From your oldest civilizations?" Daniel glanced at Greg, who nodded. "Our planet has been called many names throughout history. The ancient Greeks called it Gaia. but the oldest name that we still use is Terra. It comes from our Latin language. The moment the word Terra left Daniel's mouth, everything changed. Every alien in the chamber stood up at once. The sudden movement made a sound like thunder. Screens flickered and went dark. Ambassador Vexenar's scales turned from bright blue to a sick gray color. His golden eyes went wide. An insect-like alien in the front row made a high-pitched screech that hurt Daniel's ears. Another alien that looked like a floating jellyfish simply disappeared in a flash of bright light. "What is happening?" Lisa asked, her hand moving toward her weapon out of instinct. "Impossible," Vexnar whispered. But his voice was so loud in the shocked silence that everyone heard it. "The Death World. The Forbidden Planet. You are the Terrans?" Daniel looked at his team in confusion. Sophie's face was pale. Greg looked terrified. Lisa stood ready to fight, though she did not know what the threat was. "I do not understand," Daniel said to Vexnar. "What is wrong? What did I say?" A massive holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, floating above their heads. It showed a star map that looked ancient, with symbols and markings that glowed red. Daniel recognized the coordinates immediately. They pointed to Earth's exact location in the galaxy. One planet was marked with a red circle. Around it were symbols that needed no translation. They were warnings: danger, death, keep away. Vexnar seemed to struggle with his words. His translator made crackling sounds before it worked again. 10,000 cycles ago, before most of our civilizations existed, the old ones explored this galaxy. They were the first spacefaring race. They found thousands of worlds and cataloged them all. They left records, warnings, maps. He pointed at the holographic display with a shaking hand. They found one world so dangerous, so deadly, that they marked it as forbidden. They said it was a planet of eternal death. A world that created creatures capable of surviving anything. They called it Terra. They told us to never go there, to never contact any species that might evolve there. "That is ridiculous," Greg said, finding his voice. "Earth is a beautiful planet. Yes, we have some dangerous animals and weather, but it is our home. It is not some nightmare world." An alien that looked like a huge frog with purple skin spoke up. Its voice came out as croaks, but the translator turned it into words. "Your planet is covered in a liquid that dissolves most known substances. You call it water. Your atmosphere contains a gas that causes fire and breaks down organic matter. You call it oxygen. Most species in this council would die in seconds on your world." "You are talking about water and oxygen?" Sophie asked in disbelief. "Those are the things that keep us alive." "Exactly," Vexnar said. "You evolved on a world that would kill us, a world of extremes and dangers, and you do not even see it as dangerous. That is what makes you Terrans. That is what makes you terrifying." Another alien stood. This one looked like it was made of living crystal. "The old ones recorded that your world has temperature changes that would shatter our cities. Storms with winds strong enough to launch objects into space, earthquakes that reshape entire continents. And you built your civilization there. You thrived there." Daniel felt a chill run down his back despite the warm air. He was starting to understand. Earth was not just another planet to these aliens. It was their version of hell. And humans were the creatures that had crawled out of that hell. "We need time to discuss this," Vexnar announced to the chamber. "This changes everything we thought we knew. The council must reconvene." Guards appeared from side doors. They were armed but kept their distance from the humans. "Please come with us," one guard said through his translator. "We have prepared quarters for you. You will be comfortable there while we deliberate." As they were led away, Daniel heard the whispers from the aliens around them. Even without translators, he could hear the fear in their voices. One word kept repeating in different languages, but Daniel knew what they were saying. Terrans, the creatures from the Death World, the impossible survivors. They had come to the stars seeking friends and fellow travelers. Instead, they had discovered that humanity was the monster in every alien child's bedtime story. They were the nightmare made real, and the worst part was that they had no idea why. The quarters they were given were beautiful, but felt like a prison. Large windows showed the stars outside, but armed guards stood at every door. The rooms were big and comfortable, with soft furniture and food that looked safe to eat. But Daniel and his team could not shake the feeling that they were not guests. They were dangerous animals being kept away from everyone else. Sophie stood by the window, watching aliens walk through the station corridors below. They walk around us like we are bombs that might explode any second. Look at them. They press themselves against the walls when they pass our guards. Lisa was checking their equipment, making sure everything was secure. Old habits from her military training. This is not how first contact was supposed to go. We came here to make friends, and they treat us like monsters. Greg was sitting at a computer terminal, his eyes glued to the screen. He had been quiet for hours, reading through the station's database. The council had given them access to the historical records about Earth, about Terra, about humanity. His face got paler with each passing hour. "You all need to see this," Greg finally said. His voice was shaky. "I found the Old One's complete report about Earth, about us. It is worse than we thought." The team gathered around his screen. The documents were ancient, translated through dozens of alien languages over thousands of years. But the meaning was clear and terrifying. 10,000 years ago, the Old Ones had sent a survey ship to Earth. They had expected to find another world like the thousands they had already cataloged. Instead, they found a nightmare. Greg read aloud from the report. Planet designation Terra. Warning level, extreme. Survival probability for standard biological forms, less than 1%. Environmental hazards, comprehensive. The report went into detail. The Old Ones had tried to land on Earth and failed. Their ships could not handle the atmosphere. The oxygen levels were too high, like trying to breathe pure fire. The gravity was crushing. Their sensors showed that 97% of the planet's surface would kill them instantly. "Listen to this part," Greg said. "The temperature variations on this world exceed any planet we have encountered. Daily changes of 20 degrees or more are common. Seasonal changes can reach 50 degrees or higher. Water freezes and boils in the same location at different times of year. No known civilization could survive such extremes." "But we do," Sophie said quietly. "We do not even think about it, we just wear different clothes." The report continued. The Old Ones had observed Earth from orbit for months. They watched storms that covered areas larger than some planets. They saw lightning that could power entire cities. They witnessed volcanic eruptions that threw rocks the size of buildings into the air. They recorded earthquakes that moved mountains. And through it all, they saw life. Not just surviving, but thriving. Millions of species competing, fighting, adapting. The Old Ones had never seen anything like it. Every other world they found had gentle ecosystems where species lived in balance. Earth was constant warfare. But the most disturbing part of the report was about humanity's ancestors. The Old Ones had watched early humans with growing horror. They had taken detailed notes about what they called the apex pursuit predators of Terra. Greg scrolled through pages of observations. They watched our ancestors hunt. They say we are the most terrifying predators they ever encountered, not because we are the strongest or the fastest, but because we never stop. They recorded humans chasing animals for hours, sometimes for entire days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion and heat. "Persistence hunting," Daniel said. "I learned about it in school. Our ancestors could run down almost any animal because we can sweat and they cannot. We just kept chasing them until they overheated." "To the Old Ones, that was horror movie material," Greg said. "Most predators in the galaxy ambush their prey or use poison or traps. The idea of chasing something until it dies from exhaustion was beyond their understanding. They called it cruel and efficient. The report had more. The old ones documented how humans could heal from injuries that would be fatal to most species. Broken bones that would end another creature's life would heal in humans after a few weeks. Cuts that would cause death from infection would close and scar. Even losing large amounts of blood was survivable. "They have a section about our teeth," Sophie said, reading over Greg's shoulder. "They note that humans have both cutting teeth and grinding teeth. That means we can eat both meat and plants. They say this is incredibly rare for an intelligent species. Most evolved from either pure herbivores or pure carnivores. We are omnivores, and that means we can survive on almost anything." Lisa found another section. "Look at this. They tested human throwing ability. They say we can throw objects with accuracy and force that defies normal biology. They calculated that a human can throw a rock hard enough to kill most small animals from 30 meters away. They describe it as a ranged attack capability built into our bodies." "They are talking about kids playing baseball," Daniel said with disbelief. "We teach children to do this for fun." But the most chilling part came near the end of the report. The old ones had observed humans interacting with other species on Earth. They had watched in amazement as humans domesticated animals. Not just small, harmless animals, but wolves. Apex predators that hunted in packs. Creatures that should have been humanity's competitors. The report described it in detail. The Terrans have formed pack bonds with other predatory species. They have taken wolves into their family groups. The wolves live with them, protect them, and hunt with them. This is unprecedented. The Terrans have turned potential threats into allies through some form of social bonding we do not understand. If they can do this with their planet's apex predators, what could they do with sapient species? "They are terrified of dogs," Greg said with a weak laugh. "They think our pets are some kind of weapon we created." The report went on. The old ones noted that humans formed strong emotional bonds not just with their own kind, but with almost any creature they encountered. They watched humans care for injured animals from different species. They saw humans risk their lives to save creatures that were not even useful to them. The old ones found this behavior confusing and dangerous. "They do not understand empathy," Sophie realized, "or at least not the way we practice it. They think it is some kind of trick, a way we manipulate other species into serving us." The final section of the report was a warning to all future civilizations. Greg read it out loud, his voice barely above a whisper. "The species of Terra are unlike any we have encountered. They are individually weak compared to their planet's megafauna, yet they dominate through tool use, cooperation, and relentless persistence. They adapt to environments that should kill them. They survive injuries that should be fatal. They form bonds across species barriers. They do not recognize the concept of impossible. Most concerning is their lack of awareness. They do not understand that they are exceptional. They believe their abilities and their world are normal. If they ever develop space travel, they will enter the galaxy with expectations that will destroy other species. They will assume all life is as durable as they are. They will push others to limits that will kill them, all while believing they are being helpful or friendly. They will not do this from malice. They simply cannot comprehend that their normal is another species' extreme. This makes them more dangerous than any aggressive warrior race. You cannot negotiate with someone who does not understand the harm they are causing. Our recommendation: mark Terra as forbidden. Establish a quarantine zone. If the Terrans develop space travel, do not make contact. Let them believe they are alone in the universe. It is safer for all sapient life that Terra remains isolated forever. The room was silent when Greg finished reading. They all understood now. The fear in the aliens' eyes was not hate or prejudice. It was genuine terror based on 10,000 years of warnings from the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever known. "So what do we do?" Sophie asked. We cannot change what we are. We cannot make Earth less dangerous. We cannot make ourselves weaker. Daniel stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the beautiful station full of strange and wonderful alien species. They had dreamed of this moment for so long. Humanity had reached for the stars, hoping to find fellowship and friendship. Instead, they found out they were the galaxy's boogeyman. "We show them they are wrong," Daniel said. "The old ones were right about our abilities, but wrong about our intentions. Yes, we are strong and durable. Yes, we come from a harsh world. But we are also kind and compassionate. We have to prove that Terrans are not the monsters they fear." Lisa nodded. "The old ones judged us based on our worst traits. They saw us as hunters and predators. They never stayed long enough to see us build civilizations, create art, or develop philosophy. They never saw us care for the weak or sacrifice for others. The question is, will the Council give us a chance to prove it?" Greg asked. Before anyone could answer, the door chimed. Ambassador Vexnar stood outside with 2 guards. His scales were still gray, but his golden eyes looked more curious than afraid now. "Captain Wright, the Council has reviewed all available data about your species. We have made a decision, but before we announce it, we have a request. We want to test you, to see if the old one's reports are accurate. Will you agree to this?" Daniel looked at his team. They all nodded. They had no choice. If they wanted humanity to join the galactic community, they had to show what they were capable of, even if it scared the aliens more. "We agree," Daniel said. "What kind of tests?" The testing facility was huge, taking up an entire section of the station. It was normally used to evaluate new species who wanted to join the Council. Usually, the tests measured technology levels and diplomatic skills. For humans, they had prepared something very different. Commander Lisa Hayes stood in a white room with thick glass walls. Dozens of aliens watched from the observation area. Their various eyes and sensors focused on her. She felt like an animal in a zoo, but she understood why this was necessary. They needed to see what humans could actually do. A mechanical voice spoke from hidden speakers. "Commander Hayes, we will begin with a simple physical endurance test. You will walk on the machine in front of you. The speed will slowly increase. Continue as long as you can. Tell us when you need to stop." Lisa looked at the treadmill. It was bigger than Earth models, probably built for larger aliens. "Understood. I am ready." The test began. The treadmill started at a slow walking pace. Lisa moved easily, her breathing steady. In the observation room, she could see aliens taking notes on glowing tablets. Some were already whispering to each other. 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes, 15. The speed increased gradually. Lisa was now walking fast, almost jogging. She had not broken a sweat yet. This was easier than her normal morning workout. In the observation room, Vexnar watched the displays showing Lisa's vital signs. Her heart rate was elevated but stable. Her breathing was controlled. Her body temperature had risen only slightly. He turned to the medical officer next to him, a being that resembled a floating collection of soft lights. "How long has it been?" Vexnar asked. 23 minutes, the medical officer replied. "The average Council species can maintain this pace for approximately 7 minutes before needing rest. She appears to be completely comfortable." At 30 minutes, Lisa was jogging at a steady pace. She could keep this up for another hour easily. Maybe 2. On Earth, this was just a normal run. Nothing special. "Commander Hayes," the mechanical voice said, "you may stop if you are tired." "I am fine," Lisa called back. "I can keep going." The aliens in the observation room looked at each other with what might have been shock or fear. One of them, an insect-like creature, made rapid clicking sounds that the translators could not process. At 45 minutes, they stopped the test. Not because Lisa was tired, but because they had seen enough. She stepped off the treadmill. barely breathing hard. "Did I pass?" she asked. "You have exceeded the galactic endurance record by a factor of 6, Vexnar said through the speakers. His voice sounded strange, like he could not believe what he was saying. "And you appear bored." "I could have kept going," Lisa said honestly. "That was just a light jog. I run 5 miles every morning on Earth." There was silence from the observation room, then furious note-taking. Next came Dr. Greg Palmer's tests. They put him in a sealed chamber and began changing the air mixture. They wanted to see how humans responded to different atmospheric conditions. They started with their standard council atmosphere, which had less oxygen than Earth's air. "How do you feel?" they asked through the speakers. "A bit lightheaded," Greg replied, "like being at high altitude on Earth. I can manage, but I would not want to live in this long term." They increased the oxygen level to match Earth's atmosphere. Greg immediately felt better. "That is perfect. That feels like home." The aliens watching were making alarmed sounds. One of them spoke into the communication system. "Dr. Palmer, the oxygen level we just gave you would cause cellular damage to most council species within minutes. It would be like breathing poison for us. You say it feels perfect?" Greg looked surprised. "This is just normal air. Everyone on Earth breathes this. 7 billion people all day, every day." They tested other gases next. They added small amounts of substances that were considered universal toxins, things that killed cells in every species they had ever tested. Greg coughed a few times but survived. His immune system attacked the foreign substances and neutralized them. "Impossible," the medical officer whispered. "His body is destroying compounds that have no known biological countermeasures. His immune system is adapting in real time." They exposed Greg to a bacterium that had been deemed a universal pathogen, something that could infect and kill any organic life they had found. They used a very weak sample, just enough to test his response. They expected to need to give him medicine immediately. Greg's immune system destroyed the bacteria in less than an hour. The aliens watching ran the tests 3 times to make sure their equipment was working correctly. It was working fine. Greg's body had just beaten something that should have killed him. "Your immune system is more aggressive than anything we have in our databases," Vexnar told him. "It attacks threats with overwhelming force. Most species have gentle immune responses. Yours is like a military assault." "I did have a cold last month," Greg said, trying to make a joke. "My immune system gets a lot of practice on Earth." Nobody laughed. They were too busy being terrified. Sophie Martinez faced different tests. They put her in a room with a complex problem, a simulated emergency on a ship with multiple systems failing at once. She had to prioritize repairs, manage limited resources, and make quick decisions under pressure. It was designed to test problem-solving skills and stress management. The test was rated for advanced artificial intelligence systems. Most organic beings could not process all the information fast enough. Sophie solved it in 12 minutes. "Can I try a harder one?" she asked when she finished. "There is no harder version," they told her. "That was the most difficult scenario we have." Sophie felt embarrassed. "Sorry, it just seemed pretty straightforward. On Earth, emergency responders deal with situations like that regularly. We train for multivariable crisis management." The test coordinators looked at each other. One of them pulled up Sophie's brain scan data from when she was solving the problem. "Look at this," it said to the others. "Her brain is processing multiple parallel thought streams. She is running several different solutions simultaneously and choosing the best one. This is computational-level thinking in an organic brain." Finally came Captain Daniel Wright's turn. They led him to a large chamber where gravity could be controlled. They started at standard council gravity, which was about 60% of Earth's gravity. Daniel felt like he was floating. Each step made him bounce slightly. It was like walking on the moon in old videos he had seen. "You can increase it," he told them. "This feels too light." They raised it carefully, watching his vital signs. At 70% of Earth's gravity, they paused. Captain Wright, this is the maximum gravity level at which most council species can function safely. Higher than this, and their bones would break, their organs would fail. Are you experiencing any difficulty? Daniel did a jumping jack to demonstrate. Not really. Earth's gravity is higher than this. I feel like I am on a low-gravity planet right now. He could hear shocked sounds from the observation room even through the thick walls. They increased the gravity to match Earth's. Daniel immediately felt more comfortable. That is better. That feels normal. The medical displays were going crazy. One alien scientist was comparing Daniel's readings to their database. This is extraordinary. Earth's gravity is almost double the galactic average. Humans spend their entire lives carrying the equivalent of another person's weight on their frames, and they consider it normal. That explains their bone density, another scientist said, and their muscle strength. They are not just strong for their size. They are strong because their planet has been training them since birth. They increased the gravity even more carefully. At 150% of Earth's gravity, Daniel started to feel the strain. His movements became slower, more deliberate. This is getting difficult, he admitted. I could not maintain this for long. They stopped the test immediately and brought the gravity back to normal levels. The lead scientist came to talk to Daniel personally afterward. Captain Wright, you just functioned in gravity that would have crushed most of us flat instantly. You remained conscious and mobile at levels we use to test structural materials, not living beings. The final test was psychological. They gave each human the same scenario. Your ship is stranded in deep space. Life support is failing. No rescue is coming for weeks. You have limited food, water, and air. The situation is hopeless. What do you do? Each human gave essentially the same answer. They would fix what could be fixed. They would ration the supplies carefully. They would maintain the critical systems. They would keep working until rescue arrived or until they found a way to save themselves. Giving up was not an option they considered. Most species would enter a hibernation state to conserve resources, Vexnar explained to them later, or they would accept their fate peacefully. The psychological stress of fighting a losing battle is considered cruel and pointless, but you do not see it that way. Of course not, Daniel said. As long as we are alive, there is a chance. You keep trying until the very end. That is just common sense. No, Captain, Vexnar replied quietly. That is a Terran mindset, the refusal to accept defeat, even when all logic says you should surrender. Most species do not have that drive. It is perhaps the most frightening thing about your kind. You do not know when to stop fighting. That evening, the human team gathered in their quarters. They were exhausted, but also confused by everything they had learned. We did not do anything special today, Greg said. Those were just normal things. Any human could have done what we did. That is exactly the point, Lisa replied. She was finally starting to understand. To them, we are not a species with a few exceptional warriors or athletes. We are a species where the average person has abilities that terrify them. Every single human is, by their standards, extraordinary. Sophie was looking at the data from their tests. According to this, I scored higher on the problem-solving test than 99% of all sapient beings in the Council. But I am just an average officer. I am not even the smartest person on our ship. Daniel stood at the window, looking out at the station. Somewhere out there, the Council was debating what to do about humanity, about Terra and its 7 billion inhabitants who did not understand that they were living weapons forged by the most hostile planet in the galaxy. The question is, Daniel said slowly, what happens now? We have shown them what we can do. Is that going to make them accept us or fear us even more? A chime sounded at the door. Guards stood outside, their weapons visible but not pointed at anyone. Captain Wright, The Council requests your presence. They have made their decision about humanity's application. The moment of truth had arrived. The decision about humanity's fate would have to wait. 3 days after the tests, alarms began screaming throughout the Council station. The sound was loud and sharp, designed to get attention from species with all types of hearing. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Daniel's communicator came to life. Ambassador Vexnar's voice came through, and he sounded panicked. "Captain Wright, we have a major emergency. Pirates have broken into the station. They have taken hostages in Sector 7. There are families there. Children. We need help." Daniel was already moving, pulling on his boots. "How many pirates? What weapons do they have?" 43 armed Krell mercenaries. They are a warrior species, very aggressive. They have plasma weapons and explosive charges. They are demanding access to the Council treasury, or they will start killing hostages. Vexnar paused. "Captain, our security forces cannot handle this. The Krell are too violent. We are trained for peacekeeping, not combat. We do not know what to do." "We are on our way," Daniel said. He turned to his team. "Lisa, get your gear. Sophie, coordinate with their security. Greg, you stay here and monitor communications." Lisa already had the weapons locker open. The humans had brought standard firearms, nothing fancy by Earth standards. But she had noticed how the Council security officers looked at the weapons like they were ancient relics of terror from a more violent age. Now those weapons might be the only thing that could save the hostages. They met Commander Chirpka in the Security Command Center. She was a bird-like alien with bright feathers that were now standing on end in distress. "The situation is very bad. The pirates have locked down the cargo bay. We have them surrounded, but we cannot get close. They shot 3 of my officers when we tried to approach. They are too aggressive, too willing to hurt people." "Show me the tactical layout," Daniel said. A holographic display appeared, showing a large cargo bay with multiple levels. The hostages were huddled in the center of the floor, completely exposed. Pirates were positioned around them at elevated points with clear lines of sight in all directions. It was a defensive position designed to be impossible to assault. "Your security teams, what is your plan?" Lisa asked. Chirpka's feathers ruffled. "We are following standard siege protocols. We contain the area, we prevent escape, we negotiate for hostage release. We have requested specialist negotiators from 3 nearby systems. They will arrive in 17 hours. 17 hours. Daniel felt his blood go cold. Those hostages could be dead by then. The pirates will start killing people to prove they are serious. "What else can we do?" Chirpka asked. "If we assault, the hostages will die. The Krell will kill them before we can reach them. This is an impossible situation." "Not impossible," Lisa said, studying the display. "Difficult, but not impossible. Daniel and I can get them out." Chirpka stared at her. "You are suggesting that 2 individuals assault a fortified position held by 43 armed combatants? That is insane. That violates every tactical principle in the galaxy." "It is a pretty standard hostage rescue on Earth," Daniel said. He started marking positions on the hologram. "Lisa and I breach from 2 sides simultaneously. We move fast, take out the pirates closest to the hostages first, then work outward. Your teams follow behind us and secure the hostages once we clear a path. You want to charge into a kill zone with just 2 people against 43 trained warriors?" Chirpka's translator was having trouble processing her distress. "This is suicide." "It is what we are trained for," Lisa said, checking her weapon. "Speed, surprise, and not giving them time to react. We can do this." Before Chirpka could protest further, Daniel and Lisa were moving. The Council security teams scrambled to keep up, their tactics and training completely unprepared for what was about to happen. Daniel went through a ventilation shaft that the Council security had said was too small for an assault. His human flexibility let him squeeze through spaces that seemed impossible. Lisa rappelled down an elevator shaft, using grip strength that should not be possible for someone her size. She controlled her descent with just her hands, barely using the rope. They hit the cargo bay at exactly the same time from opposite sides. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for years to come, but in the moment, it was too fast for most observers to follow. Daniel came through a maintenance door that he had forced open with his bare hands, something that should have required power tools. His first shot took down a Krell pirate who was aiming at a group of hostages. His second and third shots came so fast they sounded like one continuous noise. He was moving before the first body hit the floor, his human brain processing threats and priorities faster than the pirates could respond. Lisa rolled under a burst of plasma fire that would have cut most species in half. The heat from the near miss would have given most beings severe burns. She ignored it and came up shooting. Her accuracy while moving at speed was something the Krell had never encountered before. They were used to enemies who would take cover, who would slow down to aim, who valued their own survival. These humans did the opposite. They ran toward danger. They put themselves between weapons and hostages. When a Krell fired at a small child, Lisa was there in an instant. The plasma bolt hit her chest armor with enough force to knock most beings unconscious. She barely flinched, returned fire, and kept moving. Her armor was designed to withstand impacts that would shatter bones in most species. Daniel vaulted over a cargo container without breaking stride. He fired while in midair, hitting a pirate who was trying to flank him. He landed among 3 pirates, and what happened next was almost too fast to see. Humans had evolved to throw objects with deadly accuracy. That same evolutionary trait made them naturally skilled at close combat. He moved with a speed and fluidity that seemed impossible. One pirate raised his weapon. Daniel knocked it aside and disabled him with 2 quick strikes. Another attacked from behind. Daniel somehow knew he was there and spun, using the second pirate's own momentum against him. The third tried to shoot. Daniel was already moving, putting the third pirate between himself and the weapon. It was over in seconds. 3 armed Krell warriors, each one a trained fighter, defeated by one human in hand-to-hand combat. The Krell leader, a massive creature covered in scars and combat medals, grabbed a small alien child. The youngling was crying in fear. "Stop, or the small one dies," the Krell roared, holding his weapon to the child's head. Daniel did not stop. He adjusted his aim by millimeters and fired. The shot passed so close to the child's head that it made the youngling's fur move. It struck the Krell's weapon hand with perfect accuracy, hitting exactly where Daniel intended. The weapon fell from nerveless fingers. The child dropped. Lisa was there instantly, catching the youngling and rolling to absorb the impact. She protected the small alien with her own body as she came to her feet, never stopping, always moving forward. The child would later tell its parents that being caught by the human felt like being caught by gentle metal. Soft enough not to hurt, but strong as steel. The cargo bay became chaos. Pirates who had thought they were in an unbeatable position suddenly found themselves fighting opponents they could not predict. Every time a Krell thought he had a clear shot, the human was already somewhere else. Every time they tried to use hostages as shields, the humans shot with precision that should not be possible. 4 minutes after the breach began, it was over. All 43 pirates were disarmed and on the ground. Every single hostage was safe. Daniel had one minor cut on his arm. Lisa had bruises where her armor had stopped plasma bolts, but nothing serious. Both were breathing hard but still fully functional. The Council security teams stood in stunned silence. They had just witnessed 2 individuals do what should have been impossible. The cargo bay looked like a battlefield from ancient history books. And the 2 humans were already checking on the hostages, helping them to their feet with gentle hands that moments before had been weapons. Chirpka approached slowly, her feathers flat against her body in shock. "How?" she finally asked. "Just how?" You were outnumbered 20-1. You moved through a kill zone without hesitation. You took shots that required perfect precision while moving at combat speed. You protected hostages while fighting trained warriors. This should not be possible. Training and tactics, Lisa replied, helping an elderly alien stand up. We moved too fast for them to coordinate a response. We did not give them time to think or react. You acted like you did not care about your own survival, Chirpka said. You ran toward weapons fire. You put yourselves between danger and the innocents. Most species' survival instinct would prevent such actions. Of course we care about surviving, Daniel said, but those hostages needed protection. That was more important than our safety. Any human police officer or soldier would have done the same thing. And that statement, more than anything else that had happened, terrified the watching aliens. Not that two exceptional warriors had accomplished the impossible, but that these were, by human standards, ordinary soldiers, that Earth had millions more just like them. One of the rescued hostages, a small being that looked like a rabbit with 6 legs, approached Lisa shyly. Thank you for saving us. You are very brave. Lisa knelt down to the child's level and smiled. You are safe now. That is what matters. The child reached out and touched Lisa's hand carefully, like checking if she was real. Are all Terrans like you? Strong and fast and brave? We are just regular people doing our jobs, Lisa said gently. But yes, any human could have done what we did today. We all take care of each other. That is what being human means. The child's parent, one of the elderly aliens Daniel had helped, overheard this. They looked at each other, and Daniel could see the realization in their eyes. Every human, 7 billion of them, all with these capabilities. The galaxy was going to have to make a decision very soon about what to do with the Terrans. And after today, that decision had become much more urgent and much more complicated. Vexnar arrived at the cargo bay 20 minutes later. He looked at the scene, at the defeated pirates, at the safe hostages, at the 2 humans who were calmly giving statements to security officers like they had just stopped a minor disturbance instead of winning a small war. We need to talk, Captain Wright, Vexnar said quietly. The Council must make its decision now. After this, we cannot delay any longer. The council chamber was more crowded than Daniel had ever seen it. Every seat was filled. Representatives from all 47 member species were present, along with military commanders, scientists, historians, and cultural experts. The question before them was simple, but would change the galaxy forever. What do we do about the Terrans? Daniel stood in the center of the chamber with his team. The debate had been going on for hours before they arrived. He could hear the arguments echoing off the high ceiling. Some aliens wanted to welcome humanity immediately, saying the galaxy needed protectors like them. Others demanded that Earth be quarantined, that humans be contained on their own planet forever. A few extreme voices suggested destroying Earth before humanity could spread to the stars. That last suggestion was quickly shouted down by military analysts who explained that attacking Earth would be disastrous. It would unite all of humanity against the galaxy. Even if they succeeded in destroying Earth, which was doubtful given human durability and determination, there were already humans on this station and on several ships. Those survivors would tell the story of what happened. And humans, they had learned, never forget. Never forgive an attack on their home. Never stop seeking justice. The idea of fighting humanity terrified most of the council. After seeing what just 2 humans could do, nobody wanted to imagine what billions of angry Terrans would be capable of. Ambassador Vexnar finally called for order. His scales had returned to their normal blue color, but his golden eyes still held fear mixed with something that might have been respect. We have heard all arguments. We have seen the demonstrations. We have witnessed the rescue operation. Before we vote, I wish to hear from the Terrans themselves. He turned to face Daniel directly. Captain Wright, you have seen how we view your species. You know we fear you. You have learned that your homeworld is the legendary Terra, the forbidden planet from our oldest warnings. What do you wish to say to this council? Daniel had been preparing this speech in his mind for days. Everything humanity wanted from the stars depended on the next few minutes. He took a deep breath and began. I understand your fear. I really do. We have spent this past week learning that everything we thought was normal is actually extraordinary to you. We learned that our home would kill most species in this chamber within minutes. We learned that our bodies are built to survive things that should be impossible. We learned that our willingness to keep fighting when we should surrender makes us seem almost crazy to you. He paused, looking around at the assembled aliens. Some would not meet his eyes. Others stared with expressions he could not read. But here is what I want you to understand about humans. Yes, we come from a harsh world. Yes, we are stronger and tougher than most species here. Yes, we have instincts from millions of years of survival against terrible odds. But we also have something else, something the old ones never stayed long enough to see. And what is that? Vexnar asked quietly. Lisa stepped forward. Compassion. During the hostage rescue, we could have used more force. We could have ensured our own safety first. We could have accepted casualties as unavoidable. But we did not. We put ourselves in danger to protect beings we had just met, species we had never seen before. That is also a human trait. Greg activated his tablet, showing images from Earth on the holographic display. Look at our history. Yes, we have fought wars. Yes, we have struggled and competed. But look at what else we have done. We created art to celebrate beauty. We developed medicine to save lives. We built libraries to preserve knowledge. We established laws to protect the weak from the strong. Sophie pulled up more data. When we found other species on Earth that were endangered, we spent enormous resources to save them, animals that competed with us for food and space. We could have eliminated them, made our own survival easier. Instead, we became their guardians. We created protected zones where they could live safely. We passed laws against harming them. Not because it helped us survive, but because we believed life had value beyond usefulness. Daniel continued. The same traits that make us effective in combat make us effective at protecting others. The endurance that lets us chase prey also lets us work long hours helping people in need. The pattern recognition that makes us accurate with weapons also makes us good at diagnosing problems and finding solutions. The pack bonding that helped us domesticate wolves makes us loyal friends who never abandon our allies. You say you are afraid of what we will do in the galaxy, Lisa said, her voice strong and clear. But ask the hostages we rescued what they think of humans. Ask the security forces who watched us risk our lives for strangers. Ask anyone we have met here. Yes, we are dangerous, but we are dangerous to those who threaten innocent people. A voice spoke from the upper seats. It was the elderly alien whose child Daniel had helped during the rescue. The alien stood slowly, leaning on a cane. I wish to speak, if the council permits. Vexnar nodded. You may speak. I am called Elder Crix of the Palin people. I have lived for 300 cycles. I have seen much in my long life. I was one of the hostages held by the Krell pirates. I held my grandchild, certain we would die. The pirates had already hurt several people to show they were serious. Our own security forces could not help us. They were too afraid, too cautious. The elder looked directly at Daniel and Lisa. Then these Terrans came. They moved like nothing I have ever seen. They fought with a skill that seemed impossible. But what I remember most is not their strength or speed. It is the moment when the human female caught my falling grandchild. She could have let the youngling fall. She was in the middle of a battle, but she caught my grandchild gently, protected them with her own body, and kept fighting. Elder Crix's voice became stronger. I was terrified of Terrans before. Now I am grateful, Perhaps that is the answer. Perhaps humans are meant to be the galaxy's protectors precisely because they can do what we cannot. They run toward danger instead of away from it. They protect the weak without hesitation. They never give up, even when they should. Another voice joined in. This one belonged to a crystalline being from the science division. I conducted the atmospheric tests on Dr. Palmer. I watched his immune system destroy compounds that should have killed him. I was horrified by what his body could do. But then I thought about what that means. Humans can survive environments that would kill us. They can go to worlds we cannot reach. They can rescue people from disasters we cannot enter. Their resilience is not just a weapon. It is also a shield they can use to protect others. More voices rose from around the chamber. The hostages who had been saved were speaking up. Security officers who had watched the rescue. Scientists who had conducted the tests. One by one, they told their stories. And slowly, the tone of the chamber changed. Vexnar raised his hands for silence. I hear your testimonies. The council must now vote. But before we do, I wish to make a proposal. He turned to face the entire assembly. Humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, but with a special role. We need what they can offer. The galaxy needs protectors who will run toward danger instead of away from it. We need a force that combines human capabilities with our technology and knowledge. I propose we establish the Terran Guard, a joint military and rescue force. Humans will lead it, but all species can join. They will be our defenders against pirates, our rescuers in disasters, our response to emergencies that are beyond normal capabilities. The humans will train others not to become like them, which is impossible, but to work alongside them effectively. He looked at Daniel. Captain Wright, humanity has sought fellowship among the stars. We offer you that fellowship, but also a great responsibility. Will you accept? Daniel looked at his team. Sophie nodded firmly. Greg gave a thumbs up. Lisa smiled and said quietly, It is what we do anyway. Might as well make it official. Daniel turned back to Vexnar. We accept, but with one condition of our own. Name it, Vexnar said. We do not want to be feared. We want to be understood. We want cultural exchange programs where humans and aliens live together and learn from each other. We want our children to grow up with alien friends, not seeing them as strange or frightening. We want to learn from your civilizations as much as you learn from ours. We want to be partners, not just protectors. Vexnar's scales shifted to a warm golden color that Daniel had learned meant approval and happiness. That, Captain Wright, is perhaps the most human thing you have said yet. To face a galaxy that fears you and respond by seeking friendship. Very well, humanity is welcome to the Galactic Council. May Terra's children be the protectors we need and the friends we will learn to cherish. All in favor of this proposal? Vexnar called out. The vote was unanimous. Every species in the council, even those who had argued against contact just hours before, voted yes. The hostage rescue had changed everything. They had seen humans at their most dangerous and their most compassionate in the same moment. They understood now that Terrans were not monsters. They were just people who happened to be exceptionally good at surviving and protecting others. The chamber erupted in sounds that Daniel assumed were cheers and celebration in dozens of different languages. Aliens came down from their seats to meet the humans personally. Some were still nervous, approaching carefully like Daniel might suddenly attack. But others were curious and friendly. A few even wanted to shake hands, having learned that this was how humans showed goodwill. One small alien child, the same one Lisa had saved, ran up to her and hugged her leg. "You are my hero," the child said. "When I grow up, I want to be brave like you." Lisa knelt down and smiled at the child. "You are already brave. You survived something scary and you are okay. That takes courage." Later that evening, The human delegation stood in the observation deck, watching Earth appear on the view screen as the HSS Horizon prepared for its journey home. They would be returning with the most important news in human history. Humanity was no longer alone. The galaxy was ready to meet them. "What do you think will happen when everyone on Earth finds out?" Sophie asked. "When 7 billion humans learn they are considered the galaxy's apex predators?" "They will be confused at first," Greg predicted. "Nobody on Earth thinks of themselves as special. We just see ourselves as normal people living normal lives." "Then they will step up," Lisa said confidently. "When humans learn that others need protection, they protect them. When they learn that others see them as strong, they try to be worthy of that view. That is what we do. We rise to meet challenges." Daniel nodded, watching Earth grow larger on the screen. Their beautiful, deadly home, the planet that had forged humanity in fire and ice and endless struggle, the world that every other species considered impossible to survive, and yet 7 billion humans lived there, completely unaware that they were extraordinary. "The old ones were right about one thing," Daniel said quietly. "Humans will change the galaxy forever. They just did not understand that it would not be through conquest or destruction. It will be through friendship and protection. We will teach the galaxy that coming from a harsh world does not make you cruel. It can make you kind, because you understand struggle. It can make you protective, because you know what it means to survive against the odds." "They thought Terra was a world of monsters," Sophie said. "They were wrong. It is a world that creates heroes who do not even know they are heroic." The ship engaged its engines and began the journey home. Behind them, the Galactic Council started preparing for humanity's arrival. They would need to retrofit stations to support human gravity and atmosphere. They would need to teach other species how to interact safely with humans. They would need to establish protocols and programs and thousands of small details. But most importantly, they would need to help the rest of the galaxy understand what the human delegation had shown them, that the creatures from the death world were not the nightmare the old ones had feared. They were the protectors the galaxy had always needed, but never had. Earth appeared in full view now, a blue and white marble hanging in space, 70% water that would dissolve most alien materials, an atmosphere rich with corrosive oxygen, gravity that would crush many species, temperature swings that would destroy cities, storms and earthquakes and volcanoes, a world of constant challenge and danger, and yet also a world of incredible beauty, a world that had created a species capable of compassion and courage in equal measure, a world that had forged humanity in the flames of survival and taught them to help others rather than hurt them. Terra, the forbidden planet, the death world, the cradle of humanity, and now the home of the galaxy's newest and most unlikely guardians. The HSS Horizon accelerated toward Earth, carrying news that would change everything. The age of human isolation was over. The age of humanity among the stars had begun, and the galaxy, for all its fears and worries, was about to discover that sometimes the most dangerous beings can also be the most gentle, that sometimes the monsters in old stories can become the heroes in new ones. The Terrans had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again.